There's one specific myth. People think that inbound leads is just posting content and cross your arms and cross your fingers and hope that leads will come. And it definitely isn't like this. And any of us who's been doing this for a while know that you can't build a business on hope alone.
Even with a very, very poor conversion rate, you're still going to sign some clients. And if you do your math correctly, let's say you charge 2K for an offer or something, you need 5 clients to hit 10K a month. So this is why it's the fastest. Inbound leads versus outreach. So let's crack on.
Yeah. So what's the best way to get leads for your business? Is it inbound? Is it outreach? What have we been doing with both of these? What has worked the best for us? That's some of the things we'll be talking about. So welcome to episode 18 of LinkedIn Marketing Mastery.
Let's crack on now. Fran, what are your favorite myths about inbound leads?
There's one specific myth is that people think that inbound leads is just posting content and cross your arms and cross your fingers and hope that leads will come. And it definitely isn't like this. And any of us who's been doing this for a while know that you can't build a business on hope alone. Yes, content will play a part, but it doesn't work on its own if you don't have a system on the back end where those people, because leads are just people who are interested in something that you do, where those people can go and get something out of it, meaning what's in it for them. Always the question to answer, and or if you're not following up with them, and that's where Dana comes in this story, then yeah, you might have one or two people sending you a DM, but that you can't build a business on the back of that.
Yeah, it's like playing the lottery. And because I do a lot of outreach, and like I just love it when people tell me that their entire business is reliant on inbound leads and referrals. And don't get me wrong, getting referrals is a great thing because it shows that you're doing your job correctly, like you're doing something right. Your customers love you up to the point where they would recommend you to someone else. And you know how recommending, especially a service provider, is. You know that you have to be 100% sure that this person can actually help others too. Because if you send a friend or a colleague to someone and they actually screw up, it's you on the line. You know, they're going to come to you. They're going to tell you, why did you send me to this guy? He didn't solve my problem. He just wasted my time. And then you're at fault as well. So referrals are really, really precious, but you can't just build a business based on referrals. And I would get it with someone who's been doing business for like 10, 15, 20 years. You know, these are people with massive networks. And in their case, anytime their pipeline is empty, they would just, I don't know, pick up the phone, just call a couple of people and say, hey, could you like please ask around if someone needs me? And this is how they would get clients. But that's very different from what actually most people are doing, just, you know, sitting around and waiting for someone to DM them.
Fun fact: I built a business 100% on referrals. Yeah, but okay, but the conditions were very special. Our clients, our target audience, were network marketers, and our niche was tax advisory.
Okay.
So you can see how it kind of works itself out.
That's very, very niche, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I fully agree with you. Most of the times this won't work. And this being said, like, do you want to tell us a bit how, because I want to start with the outreach because I think it's the easiest. And me being the inbound guy and my service being 100% inbound, that's what I do. But I do, and I've advised recently, I had a consultation with a guy from LinkedIn to whom I advised go outreach. Don't what I teach, because he was implementing a lot of what I teach. But I said, this is not the moment for you to do this. Just keep it simple and go do outreach, because first and foremost, I'm a marketing strategist, and as such I have to advise the easiest and the most effective course of action for the resources you have available to you and for where your business is. And I do think that there's nothing simpler than what you're doing. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah.
How does it
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start out with who outreach is good for. Outreach is good for anyone who is still striving to their initial revenue goal. So let's say you started your business as a service provider, like a solo business owner, consultant, coach, anything like that, relatively recently. You've still not made this as profitable as you wanted it to be. Let's say you've not hit 5K a month, you've not hit 10K a month recurring revenue from your business. And what you're looking to do is trying to scale as fast as possible. Like we all want to first hit that 10K goal, because if you're doing 10K a month, you are doing six figures. And we all know that life is very different at six figures than before that. Now you have a lot more comfort, a lot more freedom and flexibility. You can even start thinking about scaling the actual operation. You can think about hiring someone to help you out. So you can start growing the business, but you can't do that before you actually hit a certain revenue goal, which very often happens to be 10K a month. Of course, it depends on the trade, it depends on your location. Let's say that like 10K a month is the arbitrary baseline accepted overall in the business world. So if you're not there yet, outreach is the best and the fastest way to get you there, simply because it's effective. It doesn't take so much of your time. It doesn't have so many steps involved as, for example, building an email list, which there's nothing wrong with doing. But with outreach, if you do it right, you can literally fill up your pipeline within a week. If you start doing like 10 reach outs a day, 15 reach outs a day, it's like, I don't know, 100 reach outs a day. If you're doing it right, you are going to book a lot of sales calls. Even with a very, very poor conversion rate, you're still going to sign some clients. And if you do your math correctly, let's say you charge 2K for an offer or something, you need five clients to hit 10K a month. So this is why it's the fastest.
Well, there's one thing that both inbound and outreach have in common. You need to know who you're talking to,
Yes,
right?
of course. As always, all marketing has that in common.
Exactly. How do you find out who you should reach out to? I want to start reaching out to some people, send them some messages, and try to sell my service. How do I know who I'm reaching out to? Because we hear a lot, and I know a lot of people struggle with the concept of an ICP. We hear a lot about it, but it's one of those things that everybody throws around, and nobody seems to understand exactly what an ideal client is.
Every marketer should know that, and every aspiring marketer, and I think every business owner should also know what this is. First of all, you actually need to have some real data, people that you've worked with before. If you're in a situation where you have no social proof, you've not worked with anyone yet, you're just starting this out, you need to reach out to as many people as you possibly can, invite them on a call for research, like make it very clear that you're not trying to pitch them, and just speak to like five of them and try to find a problem worth solving, because it could be something different than your initial idea for the problem you want to be solving as well. So do that. Get on research calls, record the calls, make sure you run the transcripts through ChatGPT or something. Try to summarize the pain points that they're telling you that they have, their struggles. Sometimes you may even have to offer some kind of an incentive. Tell them, if you're a copywriter, ghostwriter or something, tell them I'll write like 10 posts for free if you give me the time of day and tell me about your struggles. If you are already working with your clients, then with some clients, then the easiest way to do that is just talk to your clients. Pick up the phone, write them an email, say, why did you start working with me? What was the problem that was burning for you? What exactly did you want me to solve? And just again do the same thing. Record everything that you hear, paste everything into GPT, and come up with a summary of pain points that your ideal client has, because you have to meet them at the place where they are at right now. Their pains, they may not be problem aware, but what they know is the pains they're experiencing. So you need to meet them there.
Yeah, absolutely. Being blunt pays off, so go and ask. And more often than not, people are willing to help out.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you don't know where to start, do some coffee calls. A lot of people are doing these on LinkedIn. So start talking to people, just talking without
Yeah,
without an agenda, and find out what they're struggling with, and then put it together with what you do. All right.
yeah, absolutely.
So now I know more or less who I want to target, right? And I want to start sending some DMs, well, some connection requests first. How do I find them?
Very simple answer here. Sales Navigator. I know Sales Navigator is very cumbersome. It looks terrible. It's user unfriendly, but this is still your best bet to actually find these people simply because it's connected to LinkedIn. I don't think it's a good idea to buy lead lists. Simply also, I don't know why no one actually ever mentions this, by the way, but especially here in Europe, there's GDPR. Like, it's actually not very legal to, buy someone's email address and contact them without having consent to contact them.
If you're a business, so an individual doesn't have to follow GDPR rules.
Yeah, but everyone who's doing that is buying lead
They're
lists for
offering
their
services.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're buying it as a business. So that's something really illegal. So how about, we drop that as an idea altogether because you also don't know the quality of the leads that you're buying.
And I think there's a little bit of hack there. So business emails, I think they're not encompassed in the GDPR laws, and custom domain emails are considered business emails.
Okay, yeah, this makes sense. This
So,
makes a lot of
please
sense.
don't take my word 100% for this, but this is my understanding. I studied the GDPR law when it came out back in 2018, but I might be a bit rusty on it.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But most importantly, that's just another aspect of why buying lead lists is not a good idea. Like, first of all, the legal aspect. Second of all, how do you even know that this is actually a good list? Like, seriously, how do you know that? What's the guarantee? You never know. Also, most of them, they're bloody expensive. That's the other thing. My understanding is that if you want to buy a really, really good lead list from a respectable company, you have to pay a lot of thousands in order to get that. And sales nav costs about 60, $70 a month. And it's basically, it works in a very similar way, with the exception that you can actually filter in any way you can possibly imagine of filtering through sales now. So the idea is you create that list with your ideal client and you need to know, okay, like, what's the head count of their business? Is it a small business? Is it actually just self-employed people? Is it corporations? Who are you looking for to contact in a corporation? Is it the CMO? Is it the founder? Is it the managing director? What's their revenue? Because you can filter through that on LinkedIn as well. Where is the actual physical person located in geography, or where is the headquarters of the corporation? Are they posting on LinkedIn? All of these things, you can filter this out through SalesNav. And once you have this list created, you just go in and just send connection requests to people. You can personalize connection request. You cannot personalize it. Doesn't really matter. In any case, you should get at least like around 40% acceptance rates. And this is, by the way, where content plays a really big role, because once someone is in your network, your content appears on their feed and you start nurturing them just by having them in your network. So this is where content is very, very important. And once you've done that, you start looking at the data. Who's viewing your profile? Who's reacting to your posts? Who has viewed your profile more than once? Who's liked a piece of content or something? Who could be your ideal client, even if they've never really shown a sign of anything? And then you just go in and you message them, and that's basically it.
Yeah. Before we go into what do we tell them or how do we message them, I just want to offer a little bit of a tip. So if you can't afford Sales Navigator right now, the search bar on LinkedIn and the advanced filters will give you a lot of the same information. You will have to do a lot of the manual grunt work, as in searching through their profiles manually, but you will get those lists of people more or less within the ICP that you're looking for. It's not as valuable as Sales Navigator, obviously, because Sales Navigator has like ten times more filters or more. But yeah, it's possible. So that don't let that stop you.
One option that the LinkedIn native filter has that LinkedIn Sales Navigator doesn't have is who they're following. I really like
Yeah.
this one
Yeah, I like that
because
too. I've used it a lot.
yeah, on Sales Navigator you can actually choose people who are connection of a connection, a
Hmm.
particular connection, not just a second degree connection. But for example, you want to go after solopreneurs. This is your ideal audience, right? And you just all you need to do is just go on a LinkedIn filter,
Followers
use
of
the advanced
Justin
filter.
Welsh.
Yeah, followers of Justin Welsh, and there is your target audience, baby.
Yeah, a bit of creativity will take you a long way there.
By the way, another thing Find who in your audience is like the leader who does lead magnet campaigns, and just anytime they do that, just go to the comment section, and literally everyone who's asked for lead magnets, they're your ideal client as well. You just need to
That's
find
a
your
good one.
competitor. Yeah, you just need to find a competitor who's doing lead magnets, and there we go.
Yeah. And you can reach out to them, just talk to those people directly. You have that advantage because the other one is sending a lead magnet, and now I'm going against myself. And you are just actually talking to the person directly and engaging with them. That's just it's much stronger.
Yeah, we actually have a mutual friend who has poached quite a few clients of one of their competitors using that technique, by the way, Fran.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
You'll have to tell me once we're offline.
I will tell you.
All right. So now, what do you tell people? Like when you talk to them, and this is even for me. This question, I'm an introvert, and I'm not very good at starting conversations out of nowhere. Like, how do you reach out to people? What you tell them? Like, first of all, I suppose I like what you do.
No, not really. I like what you do is very, very generic. No. Okay, so there are two ways to start up a conversation. Use a compliment or use some kind of an observation that draws a bridge between you and the other person.
That's what I meant with I like what you do.
Yeah, that's not the same
The
though.
compliment.
That's that's definitely not the same. So for the compliment to work, it's got to be something hyper specific and also relevant to them. Because if I were to slide into your DMs, Fran, and tell you, "Hey, Fran, I really like your branding," this compliment would basically mean nothing to you because you're not a
It's not for me. It's
designer.
for Inga.
Yeah, exactly. That's not the body of your
Yeah.
work, so you
Yeah.
wouldn't really care about that. It's not going
Exactly.
to touch a soft spot somewhere on your heart or something. But if I were to slide in your DMs and tell you, "Hey, friend, it seems like you've got a really, really nice inbound funnel," or something, you'll be like, "Yay, someone values me. Someone appreciates my work." So this is a good compliment, and I would even add in more detail say something along the lines of, "I really like how you frame the guide that you're offering as a lead magnet," or something like this. And I'm definitely going to get a reply because this is relevant to Fran.
Absolutely.
So this is the first part of the message.
It has
By the way, it
happened.
doesn't yeah, it doesn't have to be a compliment, by the way. It's very easy to slide into someone's DMs if they're posting content regularly, because all you need to do is find something that you have in common. So for example, I'm really good with leadership coaches because they what leadership coaches do is they trash corporate culture most of the time.
Right.
And talking about how corporate managers don't know how to be good leaders, so on and so forth. So the only thing I need to do is go in there and say, "Hey, X, I really liked your post from yesterday. While I was in corporate, this was exactly my experience exactly. You've described it so well. I had such a manager, blah, 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 so on and so forth." And immediately I'm creating connection because we're both on the same side of something. We have a common enemy as well. So this is the first part of the message. Second part of the message, and we've recently started doing that. We are immediately asking a consulting pre-qualifying question. The reason why we do this is, first of all, to prevent the conversation from getting into chit chat mode, because if we get into the chit chat mode, there is no escaping. You're staying there. And it's also going to seem very, very dishonest if you start chatting about your dogs, cats, I don't know, hiking or something like that. And then all of a sudden, you switch to asking consulting questions. And people are going to be very disappointed because they're going to think, "I thought this person actually wants to chat to me, but actually wants to pre qualify me." And they'll be very disappointed. As opposed
Yeah.
to if you try to pre qualify them straight away, at least they know your agenda. You're being very straightforward with your agenda from the very beginning. If your question is not relevant to them, they can smell you from a mile away and they don't need you. They're just going to ignore you, which is actually good at that stage because you've not wasted any time. You've literally just wrote one message, right?
That is so valuable, even to me, because I'm good at relating with people. I'm not good at reaching out, at starting a conversation out of nowhere, without a subject, without anything. But I'm good at relating with people. But with regular conversation. So what I would do is what you just advised against is just talking about stuff, like trying to relate with the person, but I don't go straight into into a sales pitch or into a proposal or talking about specifically with an agenda. But then I never turn it into a sales conversation because that's what I don't know how to do. So it makes a lot of sense what you said. Like if you start the conversation like this, very lighthearted, and then try to turn it into a sales conversation, it feels disingenuous. And I agree. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yes, but here is also one of the most prominent misconceptions ever. What you just said, I would never go straight into a sales pitch. Asking a consulting question is not a sales pitch.
No, no, but talk about the, but going in with the agenda set and going in the right direction, right? That's what you're proposing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying because essentially this builds way more trust because people know what you're on about. You never pretended that your intention was something else. You never pretended like you wanted to be friends with them or just get to know them. You were just very honest from the very beginning, and they can choose to ignore you. A lot of them do, and that's fine. But at least you set your intention straight, and that's important. But also, if you really go into the chit chat mode, most of the time you're going to feel wrong. You're going to feel that it's wrong yourself to just, switch back to trying to pre-qualify in the questions. And you're just going to waste your time, essentially. That's what
Definitely,
it's
yeah.
going to do. I mean, it's not a waste of time to chit chat on LinkedIn DMs, not at all. But if you went in with the agenda to actually get this into a booked
Yeah, yeah,
call, then it's a waste of time.
of course. So now, how do you turn that into a call? Like,
The way you turn this into a call is you're asking a very specific yes no question that is meant to reveal a pain point. And we recently realized when we were trying to explain this to clients that ask questions that reveal a pain point is very vague and very general, and people don't get what we mean by that. So the way we started explaining this is think about the answer that you need to get in order to offer a call. So in our case, if someone tells us, I'm not getting enough leads through LinkedIn, this is where we would book a call. So we're just reverse engineering it. What question
right.
do I need to ask for the prospect to say, I'm not getting enough leads through LinkedIn?
So you focus on the answer you need to receive.
Yeah, you
That's
focus
really
on this
good.
because you are trying to receive a particular answer. And never ask open ended questions. Like, don't ask them, what's your strategy? First of all, if they're busy and they realize they have to write an entire paragraph explaining their strategy to you, they're not going to do it probably. People are busy. So this is why questions have to be very, very specific. They have to be a yes no question and they have to be pointed at revealing a pain point. You're not asking, you can sometimes ask a clarifying question if you feel like you need more context, but most of the time that's not really necessary. So these are really the 3 points. Simple question, very targeted. A yes no question. Three, it needs to reveal a pain point.
So basically, this is how to get someone on a call, from a DM
Yeah,
to a call.
yeah, absolutely. Because they can tell you, let me use our example. People are telling us, yeah, I'm not getting enough leads. I'm putting in so much time on LinkedIn. And this is where it makes sense for us to say, I'd be curious to see whether I can help you. Would you mind jumping on a call? Because they've already said they have a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we book a call. This is the easy version, right? Then they could say, oh, I am getting enough leads, for example, in which case we are going to ask, so what is the next step for you? What is the next thing you need to do? And they're going to say, well, maybe I need to get to 15K MRR, in which case we're going to ask, what's stopping you from getting there? We are creating a gap between where they are and what they want. And we're trying to insert ourselves in that gap and try and solve the problem for them.
That's beautiful.
Because very often they think they're getting enough leads. They think they're getting on enough sales calls. But it's actually not true. They can get on even more sales calls, make more money, validate their offer more, raise their prices. There's so much you can do with sufficient lead generation. So once we've created the gap, what's stopping you? And they would say maybe, well, I can't get to 15K a month because I'm not getting enough sales calls. This is where we say, I'd be curious to see if I can help you with getting on more sales calls. Call booked.
That's awesome.
That's basically it. That's
Yeah,
literally
just
it.
basically just do that enough times and you'll get it.
Yep. Do it enough times. Just to bring in some context to that, first of all, I am absolutely spilling the beans for my entire coaching program. And I don't care because I think everyone can benefit from that without paying. If people still need one-on-one help and want us to coach them, feel free to book a call with us and come to the program. But I don't think that there should be safeguarded knowledge. And also, there's so much bullshit on LinkedIn about how to book calls. I feel like there should be some kind of a reliable information about how to really do it because we do it all the time. Our clients do as well. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that there needs to be some kind of a KPI of when are you actually doing all right and when not. Our KPI is between 2 and 5 booked calls out of 25 reach outs. So what this means is that out of
Around 10%,
no, I think it's like 20%.
10%
Yeah,
upwards, huh?
10% upwards, between 10 and 20%. So what this means essentially is that if you're doing really, really well, 20 people out of 25 are either going to ignore you, they're either going to say no, they're either not going to reply to your first message. But if you still manage to book 5 calls out of 25 reach outs, you're doing well. You're doing great. That's fine. Don't worry. You get used to rejection. You're not going to book every single chat into a call, and that's fine. Just live with it.
Yeah, I think this is very important to put this into perspective. So this is what you guys are doing at the blueprint, which is like it's a honed in method that is completely it's been perfected through years of work of Ethan's work, your work now, and other coaches, and they're still getting 2 to 5 out of 25 conversations. Don't So if you have to reach out to 10 to 100 people to get the first call, then that's fine. If you have to reach out
Yeah.
to 200 people, don't feel discouraged, just keep trying. That it's really good to have that in mind, so you don't just talk to 5 people and then, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's five is not enough. You have to get in the reps.
Yeah, I love it. So from here, like, when do you think it makes sense? So this is like, I agree with you, this is the best way to get started with LinkedIn. There's a little bit more to this. There's you need to have the content, helps having the right content, which is what Dana
Profile.
said before, the right profile, well optimized profile, and all of this works in conjunction with each other. When you reach out to people, they will do their research, they will click through to your profile, see who you are, why you're reaching out to them. I do that myself. I don't accept connection requests without checking who the person is.
Of course.
So yeah, having all this in line helps, but this is the perfect way to get started. But now, when do you think it makes sense to start upgrading your inbound systems? So we spoke about the myth of, yeah, inbound is not just writing content. You know a little bit of what I do. So I create email marketing systems that get people into your world without you having to do all this outreach. Obviously, we are advising that this is the best way to start, is with outreach. Is the most immediate, the easiest,
Hmm.
the one that will get you the most results with the least investment, time and money wise. But now if you're going to build a system to work with you, this is going to be very helpful, because that's, even if it works only a little bit and it doesn't fill your pipeline, it's still that less amount of people that you need to reach out to, right? So let's say if your inbound system is getting you 50% of the leads you need, then that's only 50% of the work that you then need to be doing through outreach. When do you think that it makes sense to do this, to start building an inbound system?
I think it makes sense after you've broken past 10K a month, 10 to 15, for this one reason. First of all, at this revenue, you can outsource outreach. You can just hire an SDR in house. Just have someone handle the sales. So they would be handling the outreach, they would be doing the sales calls for you, and they'll be doing it pretty much full time on some kind of a commission, probably as well, so that you free up your own time. This is one way to scale that, right? At this revenue, and also with an SDR who's driving more sales and more revenue, you can hire like a marketing strategist like yourself, Fran, and have this built just to drive more meetings and more leads in general, more calls, without actually doing anything, like without the SDR actually doing anything. But the other aspect here is that you kind of have to have an audience to do that. So the LinkedIn factor is also at play. Now, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to start building your email list, even if you have a very, very small audience. It's just going to take a lot longer to see results. I think people, and you'll be the one to judge on that, Fran. I think people generally advise to start an email list as early as you possibly can. Problem is that it's very rare to see someone who's at, let's say, 15, 20K MRR who don't have any audience anywhere. That's not really the common case. So definitely do start an email list, but keep in mind that the smaller your audience, and also the the effort that you put into your LinkedIn is going to be proportionate to the email signups you're going to get as well. So I think, Fran, you should go on from here and like also say your opinion about that. Personally, I think that around 10 15K, it's definitely a good idea to hire an SDR, just to be sure that anytime you're a little bit low in meetings, a little bit low in clients, you have an SDR, they can handle this for you, they can fix the problem, they can reach out to more people, but also start thinking about how you can scale in different way. Because if you hire an SDR, your only next step is hire another SDR to,
Can you
you know,
explain exactly what an SDR is for those who don't know?
yeah, of course, SDR is a sales development representative. So this is going to be the cool, sleek guy that's gonna sell you something without you realizing that you've been sold to. In the best case scenario.
All right. So on the subject of yeah, you should definitely start building an email list as soon as possible. And I am the biggest proponent to doing that because that list will work for you for forever. That's the only immutable asset you have. It only grows. It never diminishes. Like obviously people unsubscribe, but if you have a system bringing people into your email list, it will mostly grow. And definitely, this list is invaluable because you will sell to those people. They will be some of them will become your clients. Some of them will just become even your brand ambassadors and will recommend people work with you. But regardless of all that, there's one issue. You should start it as soon as possible, but as with any type of audience, it needs to be relevant, right? So if you start building an email list and then in 1 month from now you decide to pivot, and now I'm building an email list of people who are interested in inbound marketing, and in 1 month from now I start emailing them about outreach and something completely different, then I'm going to lose them. And this is also going to signal the email service the wrong way, right? So I'm going to lose open rates, I'm going to lose all of this. And domain reputation is a huge thing when it comes to email marketing. And domain reputation, if you start hurting your domain reputation, then you start losing deliverability, and you don't want that, obviously. So definitely it's good to build an email list as soon as possible, but it needs to be relevant. And for your email list to be relevant, you need to know exactly who your audience is, have the right people in your audience, and then the number of your audience is relevant, because otherwise you're kind of wasting time. So let's say that I have 500 followers on LinkedIn and I'm pushing people to my email list, and I did this. Is this the right thing to do? I mean, it depends on what you want, but mostly if you're building a business, your goals should be revenue, right? And you're not going to get any clients from that funnel that drives this people to 500 people. From 500 people, what are you going to get into your email list? 5 people per week? You can't even get that. Actually, I was reading Adriana Teka's email, and she was saying that she's getting around 10 subscribers per week from LinkedIn, and she has 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. You you need to have a big enough audience for it to make sense. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting your energy on that, while you could be in the same time you could be booking clients with outreach like crazy. So yeah, I agree with you. Maybe once you reach the 10,000, maybe here in this area of Europe where we are, like the economy that we have here in Portugal, maybe the one you have there in Bulgaria, 10,000 makes sense. It's where you can start outsourcing some of those services.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I would go with that as well. And the audience needs to be big enough, and your content needs to be honed in enough as well, so that you know how to talk to your audience, so then you can move them to the email list.
Yeah, exactly. I want to ask you something, friend, though, because I know that this was one of my misconceptions that you just completely destroyed a while ago. I didn't make the difference between a newsletter and an email list. And I feel like a lot of people have started having newsletters just because someone, I have no idea who, just at some point said you need to have a newsletter because you need to move people from LinkedIn to another platform that you own. But why exactly a newsletter? And what's the difference between an email list and a newsletter?
Yeah, so for me, the most important difference is expectation, right? So when you ask someone, so it doesn't matter if you're sending a newsletter or not, but it's when you're asking someone to subscribe to your newsletter, what do they expect to receive from you? Value, valuable
Mm-hmm.
content. That's all. They don't expect to be offered services. They don't expect to receive more than once a week or once a month communications, whatever your newsletter frequency is. So that's all they're subscribing to, a newsletter. Now, whilst if they download a relevant lead magnet, so something that is beneficial for them, they're both telling you what they're interested in, what their problems are, because they downloaded that resource. It means they're looking to solve that specific problem. So now they are also qualifying themselves as leads, and they're not telling you what expectations they have from your emails. You're the one who's going to set those expectations. Now they subscribe to your email, and you will tell them in your welcome sequence, hey, listen, I'm going to send you emails with this and that. If you're interested, cool. If you're not, then unsubscribe. Obviously these are not the words, but that's the concept behind it. So that's the biggest difference between an email list and a newsletter.
Yeah, so basically to sum this up, the email list is just simply a product of running some kind of a lead magnet campaign.
Yeah, I mean, because you won't get anybody subscribing to your email list without a reason for it. Nowadays, people do subscribe to newsletters just because. But when I started email marketing, I think like 7 years ago or so, the number one rule is never say subscribe to my newsletter, because no one does that.
Yeah,
Nowadays,
this
people do, but before that was the number one rule of email marketing: never ask subscribe to my newsletter. Give them a reason to.
yeah, I feel like this is something that people need to remember these days because everyone seems to have a newsletter. And worst of all, it's a LinkedIn newsletter. Like, why are you doing LinkedIn
Oh, that's
newsletters? This
yeah.
is something that I just really don't get.
Yeah, that just it's just another way for people to receive your content on LinkedIn, but it's not your platform. So that reason, which is the main reason to do it, to start a newsletter or an email list, which is having them in your own platform, which is the email list. Your email list belongs to you and no one else.
Hmm.
Then it's gone, because now you're just using LinkedIn to play intermediary part of it. So if LinkedIn
Yeah,
closes your account, you lose that access as well.
yeah. Absolutely, Fran. So, how would one go about creating an inbound funnel? The right way to actually get inbound leads. We already established that inbound leads should not be, someone popping in your inbox saying, "Hello, I need your services and your precious time." It is more about getting people to raise their hand that they have a problem and nurturing them over time so that you can convert them to a paid customer. how exactly do will we go about it? What is a simple strategy to get started?
Yeah, so it's very easy. Like the concept of a lead magnet, right? So the idea, the name is even created from that. I think the first time this concept was even used, it was Dan Kennedy. He used to call it a lead generation magnet, something like this, and then
Hmm.
the middle name fell off. So what is a lead magnet? It's basically, it's what you described it very well. It's something that makes the person raise their hand and say they have that problem, right?
Yeah.
So this is still used in direct response marketing a lot. Basically, it starts the same way as the outreach. Know who you're targeting. What are their problems? Instead of just focusing on one person at a time, you're focusing on a group of people, and
Hmm.
this group of people all have a problem in common that you will try to solve. Now, if your service solves this big problem, then you are going to give them a solution to a smaller problem that leads in that direction of that big problem that you solve, and you can either help them solve that problem, that small problem first. For service providers, which is most people here on LinkedIn, one of the easiest ways that I advise to actually create a lead magnet is to use a tool that they use in their day-to-day basis. So
Hmm.
what they use to perform their services. So let's say, for example, if you're a ghostwriter and do you use Notion? Do you use an Excel sheet to break down the content pillars and all of that? So grab that and give it to your audience for free. That's your lead magnet.
Yeah.
It's something that you are already using. They can use it to solve the problem themselves. It works for you two ways. It gives you credibility. So here's how he would do it for me, or she would do it for me. And yeah, I'm trying to do it myself, but I'm not sure I can do it. I'm not sure I have the time to do it. So that's the person who's going to do it for me, the one who already gave me the resource, so I know they know how to do it. And so it creates that credibility around you, and then it brings them closer, because now it kind of helps them reveal other problems, right? So they know they need content. If you're a ghostwriter, they know they need content. That part they already know, but they don't know how hard it is to create content until they start trying to do it themselves. Now that you gave them the resource to do it, now they know how hard it is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. This is perfect. This makes so much sense. It's actually showing that something is a lot more complicated than they thought initially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, I've never really thought about it this way. Yeah, so this goes back, to this ultimate concept that we've talking about, that people don't pay for knowledge, they pay for implementation. So you can just literally say, like, tell them everything you know, show everything you know, and you're still going to get a lot of clients.
Yeah, yeah. And knowledge is one thing, but that knowledge without the experience doesn't also work the same way, and it's what
Oh yeah.
you said it yourself. I'm going to give my whole blueprint away. How many people do you expect to implement it and have results just from listening
One
to this podcast?
one tops. But they're
And we
still
would be
going to
very glad
get
if they
stuck
did.
somewhere. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
they're still going to get stuck somewhere. Pretty sure they're going to get stuck somewhere. Yeah. No, this makes a lot of sense. So what I wanted to ask you further on is, this is a way to get this started, but what are the skills that you need to have in order to make this to keep this running? What are the different components that come into play? So we've identified something we can turn into a lead magnet. What are the next steps?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because there's one thing that I didn't mention is you can have the best lead magnet in the world, but the lead magnet is a product.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just not selling it. Or in other words, you're selling it for free. You're
Mm-hmm.
selling it for no money, but you're still selling it. And so the packaging needs to be on point. So if you try to give away a Notion template to write content, nobody's going to download it, right? But if you
Correct.
if you give away the framework to create engaging posts that will get you 10,000 followers in a week with in only 20 minutes per day, then people will download it. So
Yeah.
it's the way you package it, and it all comes back to copywriting, the actual meaning of the word of the word copywriting, right? So writing for sales, writing with the intent of getting a result. So leading
Yeah.
people towards a result. So that's the packaging is the most important part of it. And then for people to download the lead magnet, they need to be taken to a landing page where they'll give their email. Another concept that is very important to understand is, because they're not paying for it, because it's free, it not only needs to be sold as well, it needs to be sold harder, because people don't value free.
Okay. So it has to basically it has to promise you the entire world, more or less.
Yeah, it's harder to sell something that is free than, because once you attach a price to it, if I tell you, all right, download this for 100 euros, you're already expecting it to be valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Is this why YouTube is just full of these clickbaity titles of the videos?
I don't know, I would guess so. That's a whole other subject.
No, because they are essentially all competing for your attention, with attention being the currency here. But it's the kind of the same with lead magnets, isn't it?
It is. Like, we have a very good example. I don't know if Darren is still in the audience, but we had a really good example with him. Like, so he had a post, a carousel, so like a PDF that he repurposed like 3 times. He reposted it on LinkedIn, and yeah, people liked it. They clicked like a lot of times. They commented on it. It went viral, and it was really good content. But when I started working with him, I grabbed it and I said, "Okay, we're gonna turn this into a lead magnet." And obviously, Darren's reaction was like, "But I've already posted it freely on LinkedIn." And my understanding is, and that's why I said, yes, you did. But I bet you that 99% of the people who clicked like didn't even use that technique. So we grabbed it. We put it behind a gate wall. So like we asked people to subscribe to download it, and we packaged it correctly. We gave it a very enticing name. And lo and behold, with 2 posts, I think he had like 60 email subscribers already.
Wow. Seriously, that's a mind blowing result, and that's from something that he already had. Like he was ready, you know?
Yeah. The easier it is to access, the less value people give it. Like,
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'm just thinking about I'm not going to name drop because I don't like doing that, but I'm just thinking about one particular creator who's running lead magnet campaigns all the time. And he's calling them video trainings, and lo and behold, everything is actually on his YouTube channel. So you don't need to
of
subscribe to
course, yeah.
anything to access it.
Yeah, yeah. Now I remember Russell Brunson. He used to his lead magnets were basically his own podcast episodes for a while. He would just repackage them and give them out as lead magnets, and then there is you're still providing a service, right? Like, he had, like, I don't know how many at the time, but let's say he had 300 podcast episodes. You want to
Yeah,
find this one that talks about this, good luck. But if you want, you can give me your email, and I'll give it to you straight away.
yeah, yeah. This makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense. I think it's not really coming up with the idea for the lead magnets. That's the hard part. At least to me, I think the hardest part is actually there to people through email, because this is just an entirely different type of writing. It's an entirely different type of copy. It's not the same as you're writing on LinkedIn. So this is where, because I've attempted that, you know that from before. This is where I would hire someone to do that for me, honestly. The actual nurturing sequences in the
Oh
emails.
yeah, the welcome sequence is another huge thing. Like, there's a lot of work that is done after the person subscribes. You can get someone to subscribe to your email, but if they never receive an email from you, then they're lost. Basically, you have to train both them and their email server to receive you. So
Hmm.
those first emails they receive are very strategic. The subject lines, what you give them, what you tell them, all of that is very, very, very important. And we would need an entire episode to break that down.
Let's do one soon.
Sure. That's an idea, actually.
Yeah. Absolutely. Basically, because we are kind of running out of time, to sum this up, if you're just in the early stages and right now it's all about grinding to get to a certain revenue milestone, my advice would be to just suck it up and do outreach. By the way, arguments like I hate doing outreach, no arguments, because you should never base your actions on how you're feeling. Tell you the truth, I didn't feel like brushing my teeth this morning. I still brushed them. And it's the very same thing with, well, with outreach as well. It's going to be the quickest vehicle to get you to a certain point. Like if you wanted to spend time on social media, that's fine. If you actually want to grow a business and make money, outreach is going to be the fastest thing to get you to a certain point. And after that, after a while, where you can afford to outsource that, you can start building an inbound funnel as well. And yeah, and also hire someone to do your inbound funnel, basically, unless you're feeling very enthusiastic and you want to have a go at it and just crack it yourself, because there are enough people who want to do that as well. That's fine. But this is basically my takeaway.
I'm 100% with you on that. I spent years of my life messing up email funnels, like basically lead magnets that didn't work. I remember my first lead magnet took me 6 months to build.
Wow.
And yeah, and I didn't use it at all. It didn't work. So I had to try again and try again. And at the end, the easiest one was just a video that I recorded and that I just it's the way I formatted it and put it like I placed the video, like, and when you press play, it asked for your email. It was very dodgy, but that was the best lead magnet back then that worked for me. And the other one I spent 6 months to build. It was useless. It didn't do anything for me.
Yeah. Interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
but I'm 100% with you on that. So I would advise anybody to start with outreach. Inbound it takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of time to get it right. A lot of research. When I work for clients, I spend weeks on research just to understand their audience, and I know what I'm looking for. So if you still have to learn how to do it and then do it yourself, it's exhausting. So first outreach, and then when you come to a point, like I would say that set the goal. Yes, a marketing strategy eventually should have both. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
would look at it.
Yeah.
But one comes first and then the other one comes in as a complement, and then eventually you would aim to find the right balance for your business, which will be different for every business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. Said something along the lines of outsourcing. I have a lot of people who come to me and they ask me, I hate doing research. Can I just outsource that? And the answer to their question is no, unless you can afford to pay around 5K a month, because this is exactly how much it's going to cost you to really outsource outreach to someone without actually you knowing and being able to train them how to do your particular outreach for your particular industry, for your particular business, for your particular ideal client.
I would also say that outreach will teach you a lot about your business and your ideal client.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Even if you want to outsource it eventually, you should start doing it yourself.
100%. But if you want to outsource it without actually having done it, you can expect to just pay someone for like 2 months straight without seeing any results and still paying them until they learn themselves and they crack it themselves, you know? And like, are you in a position to do that? I don't know. Most people aren't in a position to do that. So yeah, just eat the frog, learn how to do it yourself. And then once you know how to do it and you have the money, absolutely outsource it. Hire an SDR, in-house one, hire an agency, whatever, it doesn't matter. Because you'll be able to see whether they're getting you the results you want and whether they're doing it the right way pretty much from the very first week. And you won't waste money into paying someone to just do fuck all, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. I think this is all for today. It was different, but it was fun.
Always fun doing a one on one with your friend. Hoping to schedule a couple of more of these in the future as well.
Yeah, we should. And I love having guests on, but it's also good to talk to you about our experiences and share them with our audience.
Yeah,
So thank you
definitely.
everybody for showing up, and see you next week.
Cheers, guys. Thank you for being here with us today. See you next week. Have an amazing weekend.